Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to another video here. This is the Ahsoka Episode 2 review. And just to give you a quick recap, Ahsoka finds a MacGuffin that has a map that Sabine needs to open up. It's a sphere, and she needs to open it up. And it's a map to where Thrawn is, or potentially Ezra. And already it looks like the leaked plot of the show is exactly right. So Thrawn's not really going to be in this. He's going to be in this barely at the very end. I do have a video on that. You can feel free to check it out. Sabine gets stabbed by... Sabine gets stabbed by a trained Darksider, but the trained Darksider doesn't kill her somehow. And the baddies take the MacGuffin with the map. And otherwise, just a slow drawl for the first episode that could have easily accomplished what it did in about 20 minutes of footage instead of 55. This episode, part 2, or episode 2, is similar in that there's a lot of just long, drawn-out stuff. And it would be one thing if it was, like, drawn out to create some sort of drama, but it's really, most of the drawing out of stuff is just to create nostalgia, like with Sabine putting her armor back on and all this stuff. We'll get into it, but they just draw it on and on and on. So, of course, this episode starts with Sabine is very much alive, because nobody ever dies in Star Wars. Chewie died? Nope. 5 minutes later, Reva? Nope. 5 minutes later, Inquisitor? Nope. He's got multiple stomachs. It's just, and people say, well, it's not impossible they wouldn't die. Okay, it's not impossible that they wouldn't die, but don't you think it takes away all the weight and tension when there's a lightsaber duel between people when you know probably no one's gonna die? I don't know, to me there's no emotion there. There's nothing. You're just like, oh yeah, they're fighting and probably no one's gonna die even if they do die, so what difference does it make? You know what I mean? It takes away all the tension. And then Sabine explains that the map shows a path to another galaxy. So it's now galaxies far, far away, I guess, in Star Wars. Then they go to the Red Forest where the World Between Worlds thing appeared to be in the trailers. It almost seems like a slight copy of Red Forest from 12 Monkeys, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what this thing is. It's not really the World Between Worlds, but it looks kind of like it. I would also like to mention every single place in this show so far is like whitewashed or gray. Like the backgrounds are all whitewashed or gray. The coloring is just, it's terrible. It's just not appealing at all. I don't mind some of that, you mix that in. But when you combine sort of the drab backgrounds and atmosphere with the very unemotional, drab way that the actors say their dialogue and stuff, it just becomes, it's a very sort of gray, drab show. It really is. And then we get the 2 non-Jedi baddies go to the Stonehenge, World Between Worlds thing, whatever it is. And then Buddy puts the MacGuffin that they took, map thing, on the pedestal, and it adjusts itself so they think it's in the right spot for whatever they are planning on doing. So this shows a lot like a video game so far, complete with extra lives and everything, and go get the thing to put in the thing, and if you get stabbed, you still have an extra life, 1 up. It's very much like a video game. And then Ahsoka goes to Sabine's looking for clues and ever so slowly walks around to drag the scene on and add more runtime. She's literally just walking around for like 5 minutes. And then for some reason, I know it's plot convenience, one of the droids that was with the baddies falls down from the ceiling and Ahsoka kills him. And then she says, I was hoping you were still here. Like, why would he still be there? There's no reason for him to still be there other than plot convenience. For Ahsoka to get information. Like, it makes no sense. Why would they leave him there? Well, we're gonna take the map and we're gonna leave, but you stay here and hide in the ceiling, because we know you're gonna get killed by Ahsoka. Like, really? You just left the guy there? It's just so bizarre. It makes no sense at all. So she stabs Sabine without killing her, and they leave a droid there. That they can now use to figure stuff out. It's just plot convenience, and it's lazy. It's lazy writing. And then they go back to the city on Lothal. Sorry, it's not Lothal, it's Lothal. Sabine's looking over the head of the droid, and she's apparently pretty much recovered from the stabbing already. And then so you get the data from it, and it will tell Ahsoka where the baddies are. And then she'll go find them. It's so predictable, it's boring, it's lazy. And again, why would they leave the droid there? So our main villains on the show are idiots, I guess. Yep, that's good. I like my villains to be nonsensical and dumb and leave clues that are easy to find for the heroes so that nobody has real development of anything and has any real challenges. It's so lame. And then conveniently, this particular droid happens to keep its memory partially active even after termination. How convenient. And so these villains are totally stupid. They could have used droids that actually die. Like die, and then not left one there. And within literally 2 minutes, Sabine already extracts the info, and they find out the droid came from Corellia's. They're like, well, Imperial Factory should have been shut down on Corellia. And Ahsoka's like, has anyone checked on that to Hera? Like, has anyone actually looked? And so again, the only way the writers can think of a way to have the First Order rise is for the New Republic to be a bunch of nincompoops. Like, they don't have security down there to, like, check what's going on. Like, it's just... And then Hera and Sabine have a little heart-to-heart about Ahsoka being kind of mean and Sabine's feeling insecure. And that goes on for a while, more runtime. And then we're back at Stonehenge where Night Sister Chick arrives. And how long were they waiting for her? How far away was she? I guess it's Disney Star Wars, so you can go to like 3 or 4 planets in a day now. So the galaxy's so tiny. And then she explains that this Stonehenge was made by an ancient people from a distant galaxy. And she turns the ball on, which makes the world between worlds looking thing. It's not the world between worlds, but it looks like it. In a way, I guess. Well, I guess it doesn't really look that much like it. But anyways, another scene from the trailers. I think like 80% of the scenes we've gotten this far have been from one of the trailers. And this is why, you know, there's going to be cameos and stuff, because they showed so little of the latter episodes and so much of the first 2 episodes in those trailers. And then the Night Sister says, Thrawn calls to her, like when she's standing there. And I'm like, what? How? He's just a guy. He's not like a wizard or anything. He's just an admiral. Like, and then she says, the Eye of Sion is on its way, whatever that is. The Eye of Sion, not the Eye of Sauron, the Eye of Sion. And then Baylan, by the way, Baylan's the one character I think is actually kind of cool in this. I don't even mind the chick either, but he's good. He's the one person that's kind of acting, and in his face you can tell there's something going on in his brain. He's not just standing there like everybody else with this mundane look on their face. And then Baylan and the other non-Jedi talk about how finding Thrawn will mean immense power, and I'm like, why? He's an admiral, maybe he has a fleet, but it's not like he's some Sith Lord. Like, they're making it so he's gonna give us so much power. Or is that what Filoni's going to do? Filoni's going to make Thrawn Force sensitive too now? Like what power? And then Baylan tells her to go to Corellia to assist with some final transport. And, of course, Ahsoka's heading there at the same time. So, Ahsoka arrives on Corellia, and we have yet another gray-white backdrop planet. Like, my word, man. And then this guy reluctantly shows them around after he told them all Imperials were shut down on Corellia, but he tells them there are ex-Imperials at every level of the New Republic government, because how else could they run things, apparently? They're just workers who get paid, nothing more, but they're former Imperials, whatever. And then Hera tries to convince Ahsoka to take Sabine as her apprentice. So yes, as myself and others have said, Sabine is Force sensitive in this show. And people are still, after this episode, denying that. So they're talking about training her. If she isn't Force sensitive, why would she need a Jedi, or why would she need Ahsoka to train her? There's actually people still on Twitter being like, this doesn't prove it. This doesn't prove that she's Force sensitive. Well, what do you think they're doing? And so Ahsoka talked about how she had already started training her before this show started. Why would she do that if she's not Force sensitive? Like, what are you guys talking about? And somebody mentioned, like, it was cooler when Sabine was just being trained to use a lightsaber and she wasn't Force sensitive, which I agree with. But she doesn't need Ahsoka to do that. So now Sabine's pretty much totally healed, and somehow the saber didn't cause her kidney, liver, pancreas, or intestine to shut down. Just doesn't do anything. Like, as if you could take a 25,000 degree sword into your gut and you could walk away from that. Like, I'm sorry, people. Like, these people, it's cauterized. Yeah, it's cauterized through her liver. Doesn't make any sense. Stop trying to make sense of it, you people. My goodness, it's dumb. And then we get another discussion with Sabine about her insecurities, about whether or not Ahsoka likes her or really wanted her around. And then Hera sees this massive hyperdrive and asks about it because the New Republic isn't building ships big enough for it. And then Buddy there is like, it's a ship, but it's classified information. Hera's a general, but she's not allowed to see it for some reason. and then they find out these assassin droids have been there because the one protocol droid is like, oh, I've seen one of those. And then the ship with the droid on it starts to leave. Like, it has the droid on it and it's carrying this huge hyperdrive. And Hera's like, stop the ship, that's an order. And then the 4 guys sitting in their stations are like, for the Empire! And they all pull out their blasters and try to kill them. Why do they have blasters, first of all? The New Republic. Like, how stupid are you? This is a shipyard. And you've got guys working at normal, like, terminals, computer terminals, and they have blasters? I guess there's just tons of guys everywhere that just love them some Empire. They're all just big, everyone's an Empire loyalist. All those people cheering at the end of Return of the Jedi are all faking it, and they actually really liked Palpatine and the oppression he brought. Like, the way they're muddying the waters, making it sound like the Empire was a good thing, is so terrible story-wise. They're totally turning everything that was black and white about Star Wars into gray, and it ruins it. It doesn't make it more interesting. It doesn't make it more intellectual. I know they think they're smart. It doesn't. It totally takes away from it. There's a reason good versus evil stories exist and have been so popular. This modern last 10, 15 years gray area isn't actually what anyone really wants. And it's not interesting. And there's a reason why a lot of these movies and shows are not doing very well. And I guess Palpatine was actually kind of a good guy. He's a good guy, man. I wouldn't mind living under Palpatine. He's a good dude, man. Anyway, and then Hera and Ahsoka kill them all. Kill the 4 idiots. And so you can see the big hyperdrive leaving the in the background of this shot while Ahsoka tries to chase the ship down. And so this is the scene in the trailers where Hera goes after the ship while Ahsoka has to fight the assassin droid and the Inquisitor because they, I guess, hop out of the ship and they're going to fight her. And so Hera tells the ship to stop and it just decides to open fire on her. She's a general in the New Republic. Like, how disorganized are they? Like, they don't have, like, a couple of, like, fighters on Corellia or, like, protecting their giant shipyard operation. No, it's just Hera by herself. There's nothing there. Like, how disorganized is that? There should be some sort of protection in case something goes down, right? You should have a couple ships, something. And she's just by herself going after this vigilante ship. And then there's a fight scene with Ahsoka and the Inquisitor and the droid. And I mean, it's okay. If you really look and break it down, there's some cringe choreography. I'm not going to do that. Where the Inquisitor just like blatantly misses or makes some nonsensical swing. But whatever. It's okay. It's not terrible at all. It's fine. And then Hera is just totally emotionless the entire time she's under attack. She's flying behind this ship getting shot at. And there's just no urgency. She's making small talk with the droid. It's cute and funny, but it's like, what is with that with the Disney Plus shows? Like, the acting is always so emotionless and blah. Just like the backgrounds are blah. Another desert planet, blah. Like, it's just blah. There was some emotion in Kenobi, I'll give them that. That was the one show that had some emotion. Terribly written show, really nonsensical and dumb, but at least there was actual acting. Ewan McGregor knows how to act. But anyway, there's like no panic. Like in the you remember like in the OT and stuff, and even in the sequels, in the movies, there's like urgency. There's people like Anakin is fairly calm when he's flying his ship around because he's the best starfighter in the galaxy, but everybody else is in panic mode. Oh my gosh, we could die. But like, Hera here is just like, yeah, whatever. It's all good. We'll just float around. And then right as Ahsoka's about to kill the Inquisitor, the blonde chick shows up and saves him from the Inquisitor's spinning helicopter blade that he throws at her. He actually pushes a button on it, and then it spins like a helicopter. I didn't know they pushed a button on it to do that. I guess it makes sense, kinda. And then he throws the helicopter at her. She dodges it, and then he runs to the ship, and the blonde chick picks him up. And then Hera's droid, Chop, finds the tracking device and throws it on the ship that's carrying the hyperdrive just before it goes into lightspeed. And then we cut to Sabine, cuts her hair and puts on her Mando armor, and it's a really long, drawn-out scene, part of which we saw in the trailers again, because 80% of what we're seeing is from the trailers. And then they show a bunch of Corellia workers and Buddy getting arrested. Oh, now there's security. Now there's somebody there that's actually checking stuff. Like, it's just... There's no fighters, but there's guys. And then Sabine sends Ahsoka a message saying she's ready to train. And then Ahsoka picks her up on Lothal, and they head for the planet that the ship is orbiting that was carrying the hyperdrive now, because they know where it is. Okay, so it turns out the Eye of Sion, not Sauron, is a ship, and it's almost complete, and is the Night Sister's ship. So she's been behind all this construction of this ship, I guess. From prison, no less, after Ahsoka arrested her 2 years ago. The plan is to use this ship to get to Thrawn. This ship is like a big circle with 2 giant engines. It almost looks exactly like the old Jedi starfighters when they had to go to hyperspeed in the prequels, where they had to click onto this circle thing to be able to go faster. And it's basically looks just like one of those, except it's just really, really huge. And it's called the Eye of Sion. It seems like it seems kind of impractical to have this big circle. Like, how do you get around in there? Like, you got to constantly be walking around, going down elevators to get around. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It just seems super impractical. And they're going to use it to get to Thrawn. And I'm kind of like, this is where it ends. And I'm like, why? Like, obviously the New Republic is inept and corrupt anyway. They've got guys everywhere, and they're corrupt, and they're inept, and they're not a threat to anybody. You can steal all the stuff right under their nose that you need to make this massive ship. Why couldn't you just keep doing that and make more and more ships? You have, she has 2 loyal non-Jedis and an Inquisitor doing her bidding. So she's got a team of powerful people. She's got resources. She's got a huge ship. She's got people planted all over the place stealing crap for her. And she needs Thrawn? Really? What do you need Thrawn for? Maybe she wants blue babies. Maybe she really finds him attractive. I don't know. And the other thing, too, is I noticed at the end there, you would think that they're arresting the guy. So the guy that wouldn't declassify the information to the General Hera about where that ship was going and that hyperdrive, what it was for. Wouldn't the first thing you do is sit that guy down and interrogate him? So maybe they will. Maybe Hera will do that. Maybe that's what's going to happen. But they went through all this trouble and throw the tracking device on it and everything else. Why couldn't she have interrogated that guy or figured out a way to declassify that information? If she brought his little iPad to Mon Mothma and said, hey, I need this declassified, guess what's going to happen? It's getting declassified, right? So it's a lot of stuff for no reason to create quasi-excitement with a gray backdrop and non-emotional actors, basically is what we're looking at with this show so far. So, not a very good episode. Not as bad as the first one, but it's still stupid. Sabine still survives. Another person survives getting stabbed. That's the second lightsaber duel in 2 episodes. I'm sure there's another one. She fights Balin at some point. We know that for sure. I mean, there's probably going to be 4 or 5 lightsaber duels in this show. So it's a lot of lightsabers. It's too much. But anyway, it's just not that good a show. It's slow. A lot of stuff that's super nonsensical. The droid being left there, all that nonsense. The way in which they get the information seems nonsensical. The way in which they're doing everything is nonsensical. The New Republic is totally inept. There's no security. There's no nothing. It's so blah. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Check out my other Star Wars content or other stuff that I do as well. And check out my next review on episode 3. Have a good day.